Spirit Media.
Hi, so my name is Nick Fraser. We are on the island, Holy Island here in North Wales, just off the island of Anglesey, and we are stood on the west side of Holy Island, facing Porthavach and the Irish Sea out to the west. We're in a field here which is privately owned, but there's free access, and we're at what we call Penrhos Feilw Standing Stones, two enormous megalithic quartzite granite rocks that have been here for many moons, and it's one of the most sacred of all, we believe, like druidic and pagan sites in Anglesey, certainly if not in North Wales and the whole of the UK other than Glastonbury. It's spelt Penrhos, so Penrhos Feilw. It's a super old site with a lot of old connections that go back an incredible long way. There's been a lot of talk about this. I've had friends going to Brazil and shamans talking regarding these stones. They've been, there's been a lot of people going on long trips to see these stones in Anglesey. Anglesey is pretty amazing because it contains I think about 140 to 160 of these different stones, different stone circles, different megaliths and different roundhouses, burial chambers, and all manner of all things. I guess druidic, pagan, we would like to think, certainly longer than older than Celtic. Anglesey is a very sacred spot, and it has been for a number of years. Many thousands of years. Before that, there was a kingship here. We had Aberfraw, which is on the island of Anglesey, which is the seat of many Welsh kings who ruled the whole of the UK. And before that, there was the druidic lineage that was here long before the Romans ever arrived and tried to take out and conquered our island. The significance of these stones is something pretty important because we believe the druids had found an understanding to the metaphysical world, to the understanding of the energy of the ether, and we believe that they were harnessing the energy of the earth by putting in these megalith structures. I'm a geophysicist by trade and a local marine geologist, and it's very interesting to see a lot of scientists of the world talking about these structures because there is an incredible magnetic feel when you come here, like an electricity, should you, for want of a better word. There is a very high feeling in these areas that is very different than anywhere else that you go, and we believe that a long time ago that the druids knew an awful lot about this natural energy that flowed through Mother Earth. The Chinese recognized it many thousands of years ago, 10, 20,000 years ago, by calling it dragon lines. What we're referring to is ley lines, and we believe that these structures that you can see in the background mark clearly paths of energy which run linearly across the land, invisible structures that sometimes we see nature following, but humans have kind of lost the feel of understanding really in the context of time. The Romans came into our country in about 074 AD, so after the turn of the clock, 000, they were 74 years later, and they made their way all the way up through England, conquering a lot of the lands as they went, and they arrived at the shores of Anglesey here and tried to take across the Menai Straits to take this island. They failed on numerous attempts, but then they sent a battalion of 21,000 men eventually, which were 7 battalions of 3,000 men equal 21,000 men to take the Isle of Anglesey, and they managed to breach across. They had a very big battle, but there's a lot of troops, very well schooled Roman soldiers that are very battle hardened, and they managed to take this island. And the interesting thing about their movement was that when they took the island, they had no real reason to send 21,000 men here to take the island. They only sent 7,000 men to take the whole of Scotland, which we think is quite ironic. So there must have been something really important here for them to send enormous amounts of cavalry. They took the island and they slaughtered all the druids here, and the druids were the ancient priesthood that were teaching high-level scholars an understanding of the metaphysical earth at that time. The Romans took all the information, decimated most of the sites, and took the information back down to the Vatican. My personal opinion, this is It's documented that on Wikipedia that General Paullinus, who was the Roman general that took or was in charge of the main battalions of men, sent many voices and messages back to Rome saying that they'd taken the island and that they were looking at all the druidic centres, and I feel that they were harvesting the information that the druids hold. There are a lot of stories regarding why they were so interested in this technology, because it is a form of technology. We haven't really decoded what's its main use yet, but there are in the Russian texts they're known as dolmens, and the ancient priesthood would go in and move into the afterlife there, use the stones as almost like a virtual hard drive for information, so that people could move in and out of these regions and pick up the wisdom of the elders, like an undestroyable hard drive, should you. So we know the Romans knew that there was incredible information here, otherwise they wouldn't have sent such resources to take the island. So these stones signify something very important, but we quite haven't got to the bottom of what they are yet. There are talks of they could be portal technology, which is very kind of out there and things, but you never know with what they'd found with the manipulation of the energy of the earth. It could be something quite significant. I think that they certainly mark the energy ley lines on island of Anglesey, and also ley lines that connect the further reaches of the greater UK and European ley lines central. Holy Island was quite important for a number of reasons, and we believe that the legends of King Arthur come back to mainly this land. Just further up the track up here is a place called Tre Arthur Bay, which is a little small town, which if you look and use the Welsh word to translate Tre Arthur, it means Arthur's village, and the small village that precedes this village is King's Land. Now, there was no reason why Arthur, the former, nobility, wouldn't have been born and raised here. This was a holy island, as it's been named. So there is a lot of clues left into the names of the land that may signify a distant past of Holy Island and Anglesey as a whole. This won't be found in texts and documents and mainstream science, because we feel that the information's been removed, and it's certainly been removed for a reason. It's too coincidental for all the information of all these points to be removed out. But Holy Island and Anglesey holds many secrets that we'd like to find out more about. There are 147 to 160 different stone circles, documents, stone circles, burial chambers, monuments, megalith structures. So we know there is a number of ley lines that run through here, and there's obviously a high energy environment. What they're made of is what you can see in the background, the mountain in the distance there. That's Holyhead Mountain, and it's made of what we call Precambrian mudstone, and it has quartzite rock. Now, quartzite rock is very, very powerful in terms of its energy transmittance. We can prove this through science now that we've put energy and power through the rock. We can see a definite voltage increase, and it actually, if we measure using scientific equipment, we can see it producing its own electricity. So we use quartz in watches, we use quartz in many different materials. It's a great transmitter of electricity. Now, these monuments are made out of that quartzite rock, so they're transmitting the natural energies and frequencies of the earth, we believe. This is all very speculative, but we're joining the dots of a very old information that was once a normal set of information, but it's been lost through the eons of time. So there are many of these ley lines that run all across the island, and they're quite powerful. They kick out quite a lot of heavy frequencies and energies, and we think they're quite cleansing for you. The mountain, you see, it's covered also in. The Romans took the mountain when they came here, and there are numbers of forts all over the top of the mountain. There are Roman fortification walls and garrison towers all over the mountain proper, right in the distance, which is kind of interesting. There's also talks of burial chambers and tombs within the mountain, which I've yet to see myself, but I've spoken to numerous friends who are climbers who have verified they've seen a small tomb on the backside of the mountain, which coincidentally has been an area that's been cordoned off by the powers who be who can't manage and counsel land. Luckily, the people who look after these stones now is in a Welsh held state. It's run by a company called Cadw Cymru, and they look after and maintain these sites. And it's super important for people to know about this, these systems, these energy grid marking points, because all over Europe and mainstream of the world, and in Russia and places like that, they're finding more of these grid points, these burial chambers, and people are starting to understand that it was part of a greater network of points. I guess as time rolls out, we will start understanding this in a more scientific manner. I think when science catches up with this is when we'll start seeing some interesting stuff, because right now I don't think science has quite caught up with the understanding of what the druids had in terms of the ether and the manipulation of Mother Earth's and natural energies, which the Chinese have been all over for thousands of years. Anyway, if you come to Anglesey, North Wales, you should come and visit Penrhos Feilw Standing Stones. It's, respect the path, it's a farmer's field and stuff, but feel free to come in and look in. And, there's guides online for all these structures that the druids left all over our lands, and they're rather beautiful to go and see. I've got a website called What's on North Wales, and whatsonnorthwales.com rather, and on there I'm going to be blogging some of this and maybe giving a guide of the best local spots that you can come to see these standing stones, because we've got a lot of visitors that come all from all over Americas and Europe and world, Newfoundland, all over to see these, so they're quite of huge importance. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope it's useful for you to hear about. Come to Anglesey sometime for sure. Hey, so we're on Holy Island still now, and we're at the a place called Treffingaff burial chamber. We're on the shores of Penrhos Bay. To our right is the Irish Sea and a big estuary that the River Allow feeds into. So back many thousands of years ago, this would have been an important part. We had a lot of forest here, led onto a foreshore where there was a lot of abundant and available food. So the hunter-gatherer people would have been very happy in this environment, meeting their daily needs of food, fish, warmth, wood, shelter. It's big forests that back us here now, and they lead onto a lagoonal estuarine area behind. So it's quite strategic for living purposes. This is an actual burial chamber, or so we know up until this date. It has three main chambers. The first is the one on the furthest right. The second was developed after in the centre, and then there was a third burial chamber off to the right there, coming in through each part. Interestingly enough, even though we're told it's a burial chamber, both entrances of the burial chamber align with both the summer solstice setting sun and the summer solstice rising sun. So it's aligned with a correlation of a compass direction for June the 21st of each year. So I don't know if I'm totally sold on the burial chamber thing, but it's certainly aligned. They did find bones here and stuff, and there may have been burials here, but we feel that maybe the alignment has a little bit more significance, as with the stars and other things like that. Yeah, behind us is a big lagoonal environment, and strangely not strangely, we're on a big lump of quartzite rock here. Again, the same rock that the mountain was made from, and the big stones that we've seen in Penrhos Feilw previously were made from. So we're on a big lump of Precambrian quartzite, or mudstone, which is quartzite rock, and there's no accident that these actual tomb structures are made from the same material, the same rock. So running down all the way to Holy Mountain, or Holyhead Mountain rather, on Holy Island, we've got a series of stones that mark a processional path. We found this by accident on Google Earth when my friends were kind of going through images of where to find more of these burial chambers and mounds and other structures. But there is a strong line of standing stones that leads processionally all the way out, probably the best part of maybe half a mile, leading due northwest from here. We think that they also line in with the procession of the setting equinox sun, along with a lot of the other tomb chambers on the island here, and also standing stones. So there have obviously been many developments in this area since the time that these stones were set down. Things have changed, roads have been built, things have been moved. The stones lead to a town that I mentioned previously. It was called King's Land. So another quite interesting little dot to connect there. Why would you have these beautiful standing stones leading all the way to a king's land? and then all the way back to Trey, Arthur's town. So there's definitely strong significance, and I know the druidic stones were laid down a long time before the time of King Arthur and things, but there's some correlation in the data there. It might be spurious at the minute, but I think, you know, people will join the dots in the future to these little points that we're making. So we can't see them now, but these stones line all the way out, and I think before the housing estates and things were built here, before the breakwaters were built in Holyhead Harbour, we would have seen a set of stones leading all the way up to the kind of water's edge to mark the setting sun point. Conversely, on the other side of the island, on the Menai Strait at the Plas Newydd estate, there are 2 standing stones that welcome the ley line onto the island as well. So we haven't measured the correlation between start and finish, but we know that it runs directly across. When I say they, I'm talking about an energy ley line that could run across the island that these are marking. Again, it's not, you know, signed and sealed, and certainly science can't, you know, reel back this up to date, but we're moving into an area where science really is in no man's land anyway, so it's good to postulate these ideas out because of what could be. It's just my own, these are my own thoughts and my own views on it. They're not concrete or anything else, but there's some interesting things coming from it. So yeah, some other interesting knowledge about the local island of Anglesey.